So, the greatest rapper of all time that died on March 9th. 20 years.
20 years.
Anyone remember where they were when he died? Is anyone old enough to remember?
I was pretty young when that happened, actually. I was definitely pretty young when that happened. I remember I wasn't Tupac died, but I don't remember I wasn't Biggie.
Alright, so I DJ'd at this gig. It was the launch of Hypnotize. That is the official merch brand of Bad Boy. And it was like they did it on March 9th to celebrate Biggie's 20th anniversary. It was a big event, it was a pop-up shop in Camden. Now, I don't want to seem like I'm taking anything away from anybody that's involved in this story, because I'm definitely not. The brand was sick, the launch was great. What hit me was the fact that I decided I'm getting booked for this Biggie thing. It's not a party, it was a pop-up shop, so I wasn't having to try and make people dance like it was a club night. So I decided to play a Biggie set, alright? I had young kids coming up to me. I had these one boy come up to me and say, what genre are you playing? What genre are you playing?
There's so many questions in that though.
And I saw a couple of them trying to do like weird dab moves and stuff to the Biggie records I was playing, but everyone just looked a bit confused at what I was playing, yeah? And then I thought, mate, it's just a shop launch, but people aren't, it's not like people are coming out to rave. And again, I'm not trying to take anything away from the brand or the launch or anybody involved. It was more just an observation I had of how the younger kids are digesting music. So obviously, people know who Biggie is. They want to go and check this thing out. But when they start vibing to all the new stuff, I was like, shit, none of these kids know this music. What weird cultural phenomena are we in where you can be into something that the forefront of it is music, yeah, but into everything around it except for the music, like into the idea of, Biggie's retro. And he died. I know he was great because I heard older people talk about him. I'm gonna go and kind of like immerse myself in it, but actually have no interest in. It's so bizarre to me.
Do you know how to answer that question? Is when you see a young person in a Nirvana t-shirt. That answers your question. So they'll probably know the one song, they'll know the bigger hits.
Yeah.
But when you're digging in the crates, they will not know. But the idea of Biggie is so
some of them don't even know anything.
The idea of Biggie is so cool.
But there's so many questions to that though, in terms of like, did the kids know why they were there? Were they told to be there under false pretenses? Like, what the fuck? No. The kids that were there, did they realize that they were there for a fucking event?
No, it was pushed as this is the launch of Hypnotize, which is the Biggie merch brand. It's sick, by the way. I think it's still going on. You should check it out. Like they've actually got they've smacked it.
Where was it?
Some of the t-shirts. In Camden. It was in Camden Block.
If you had to put a number on the age, like an average age of the people that were there, what would you say it was?
I say early 20s.
Early 20s. So like anything below 22?
No, maybe some up to mid 20s.
Mid 20s, you don't know.
Okay, so we're talking 20 years since Biggie. So. Not saying because you're young you can't know.
But this is what kills me is that's never an excuse.
T-shirt and only know Juicy. People will. Do you know what I mean? And they'll say, "Oh, this is a Biggie event. I still want to come. I don't know all his music, but they still want to come." So there's a lot of ignorance out there. There's a lot. It looks cool. It was a cool brand. It was a cool night. I'm gonna go out there with my mates. Was it free?
Yeah, it was.
There you go.
But what kills me is the thing is we always use age as things. But think about how these kids were 4 when Biggie died. That's not an excuse because the internet's not free. You pay your service, but information is out there. Like if you're interested, go and learn. Like I listened to music that came out before I was born.
Yeah. But hip hop culture is there's a fundamental part of hip hop culture that doesn't celebrate learning. It doesn't celebrate education. And if you mix that up with like the whole punk attitude that hip hop was supposed to have anyway, where it's supposed to be this thing where these young motherfuckers come in and disrespect.
Is that true? Is that something that was all supposed to be a part of hip hop? Because a lot of hip hop artists stood for everything that was against that. Public Enemy definitely didn't stand for it being cool not to learn. KRS-One didn't stand for it being cool not to learn. Nas, Rakim, all of these guys, they never stood for a celebrated Islam.
Yeah, but I think
for it being cool to know. I
think that time has passed. Like the day and age we're in.
What, really? With Kendrick Lamar outselling everybody?
I think your event was just.
In terms of it's not the norm.
I don't think you had. I think if it was a pain event, you would have seen the real.
And also, sorry, let's go back to that Kendrick. Sorry, Casey. Sorry, no, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, sorry, let's go back to that Kendrick Lamar thing. Something just hit me today. It's like, alright, the thing about Kendrick Lamar as well, that I realised as well, that when he dropped that The Pimp a Butterfly album, I realised when I was talking to a bunch of motherfuckers here, they didn't actually get the album. They didn't actually understand what the album was about. So even though he's someone that's supposed to kind of spit knowledge and spit that game, people weren't really taking it for what it was. Do you get what I'm saying? So that was more. So Kendrick Lamar was celebrated in terms of where it's like the tastemakers were saying it was dope, and everyone just followed suit.
And the fake crowd knew that this is supposed to say it was dope.
Exactly. So even though it's a thing where Kendrick Lamar was like heralded for something positive, in actual fact, most people didn't actually get what the fuck he embodied, or what the fuck that album encompassed.
The song on the first album, the Swimming Pools. I saw people like years later be like, oh, I didn't even realise he was talking about alcohol, about alcoholism in that song. People are like, what the fuck were you hearing there?
But beyond that,
you just heard in the club, drink, turn up, drink. Hey,
you know what?
Drink.
But Snips,
hey,
that's actually the blueprint for like a classic song, where it's like when it kind of caters to both crowds. We cater to the crowd that you don't hear the lyrics. Where it's like if you cater to the people that are just going to appreciate it on face value, they're just going to hear a couple of words of the chorus and take it as that, and it also caters to the people that actually going to think deep and because it's so
yeah, plus like DMX and Joe all made that shit like a fucking blueprint, man.
But that's for me. That's
I can speak to this bit in the club.
Yeah, but it's
easy. I remember the word.
Alright, the thing is though, what are you saying? Alright, based on what you just said, what would you? How do we combat that though?
What's the issue? Like,
how do you rectify the scenario? Because
the issue is not specific. The issue isn't just specific to like the event. This is an overall thing, and I think it's specifically in the scene because my boy was there actually, and he's really into that. He's really into all the trap stuff and whatnot. Shout out to CWD. He's really into that shit, but he was recently in New York, and I was like, bro, could you imagine if you threw a Biggie party in New York? Yeah. Like, who would be there? Like, and what they would want to hear. Would they come to a Biggie party and want to hear Migos and stuff? No way in the world would that happen in New York. Here, and the thing is, in London, we used to be really like we're a bit of a joke now, as far as hip hop's concerned. Seriously, I was playing the other night, there was this Korean DJ that came on after me, and he's big in South Korea, he does like the duo over there and stuff, and he came on and he started playing classics, so he was playing like Big Pun and like Talib Kweli, Get By and stuff, and the crowd obviously were just dead, like literally stopped dead and stared at him, and he gave me this look like, this is London. And I was like, no, London is less hip hop than South Korea.
What is the theme of these events? Because I don't believe that. I have faith in the next generation because they do their research. YouTube is just a video away from doing research. You can do your old school. I do a lot of music workshops, and the young people do their research. They research. I guess the more musically inclined ones do. They go back and they research their history. I want to know what is the headline of these events. Because
part of the demographic you're talking about is very niche. There's not.
Do you know what most kids research about a classic artist? When Supreme put them on a t-shirt. Then they'll go, and even then it's only like a minority that will go back and be like, oh, who is this person I'm wearing on a t-shirt? Let me go and find out their music. But for the most part,
I guess it's maybe the young people that I hang around with, they seem
but that's what I'm saying.
very,
most of the people my age are not.
They like to know their history and where everything came from. So
that's a certain
This is also my next question though, because it's like we're all talking about now we need to try and educate the younger generation with past hip hop music now, But then in that same bracket, if you apply that same pressure, if you apply that same kind of notion of if you don't know your history in terms of hip hop, then no. But this is partly what my question is though. Is this what we're saying? Are we saying that the younger generation has to know what came prior?
Okay, let me answer that question with a question. Yeah. Do you think it's coincidence that since we've got to this disconnected point where the younger generation aren't doing their research in their history, do you think it's also coincidence that we've now got to the most stagnant and creative lull in the music's history that we've ever seen? Do you think that's coincidence, or do you think that comes because if you only listen to one thing and you only listen to what's current out now and that's what you listen to, if you then go to make music, you're only going to regurgitate.
But I don't think it is stagnant.
It annoys me because because like growing up, some of the people that are considered legends today were considered crap at their time.
Yeah.
Like for example, like Biz Markie, ODB, they were considered trash.
Whoa!
They were considered trash.
Whoa! Snips, you got a point there though, man.
All the Mace,
yes.
Diddy, they were all considered like they were all like little young.
No. Biz Markie, ODB, but what you got to remember?
Listen to young little young. Is there much difference between that? Okay, alright then. You know.
No one ever.
Busta Rhymes?
Busta Rhymes? Are you crazy? No one ever thought Busta Rhymes.
People said Busta Rhymes.
I need to know what you're going to say.
ODB, no one ever took ODB seriously as a rapper.
Okay.
Yeah? ODB was a hype man. Biz Markie, same thing. Biz Markie was a fucking record collector. Like, what I'm saying was, no one ever took them seriously as rappers. You're right. No one ever said they were trash.
They did. I'm the same today as I was back in the day.
I agree.
I know everything. So I felt the brunt of everyone who said they were.
I tell you,
I love the whole black music. But at the same time, I was
people
DJ
said
Premier.
3 6 Mafia were trash back in the day, and Juicy J. That's one I can't.
Outkast was considered trash.
Nah, maybe not.
New York, but
Okay.
Maybe not Outkast. All the rest I was really. When you put out Outkast,
These are what I like. So I probably just to me and like who I used to get a lot of stick for liking. And my taste is broad. So that's why even today I like the latest track, but I still love my old songs. I know the best producers in the game, but at the same time, I still love cheesy. The cheese of cheese.
Just because you listen to mumble rap doesn't mean that you can't enjoy.
But Snips are saying that they're stealing stagnant right now, and I'm saying that I don't believe it is. We're in the age.
every song sounds a fucking same.
Hold on. But it's the cream. If you're looking at what's at the forefront of popular culture, we're literally we're
that's what hip hop fans are doing.
We're almost inundated with too much fucking artists right now that we can't decipher. Like everyone right now is just in their niche. Everyone's in their own pocket of what they like to listen to, because there's so much variety out there. So I refuse to believe that literally hip hop's at this point where it's fucking stagnant.
Okay, let me rephrase that. You're right. I'm talking about what is considered the dominant sound within hip hop, because you're 100% right. Because bruv, I'll be honest with you, I've bought about 10 albums in the last 3 months and all of them have been fire. But what is considered the dominant scene in hip hop music right now in this country is stagnant. It's very stagnant. From the UK stuff to the US stuff. The US shit that people like is the trap shit where literally every song sounds the same. The shit that they're making in the UK sounds like a carbon copy and all sounds
What
the
you're
same.
saying now, they used to say back in the day. This is what you're saying. They used to say even going back to R&B when all the same producers used to produce the same songs.
Which era?
Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis.
Which era are you talking about?
Then you go back. Then there was the Timbaland.
Because even Snips,
then there was everything's the same. Everything on the radio was produced by the same person. Then there was the Rodney Jerkins era. Everything you're saying about now is what they were saying back then. And every song on the radio had the same tempo, had the same reach, had the same.
R&B, you're right. R&B, you're right. Since the 90s, since the mid 90s, R&B, you're right. Hip hop, that's not the same. New York radio, which is the mecca of hip hop in the 90s, people were not saying that shit about the era I'm talking about where the producers dominating were Pete Rock, Premier, Marley Marl, Eric Sermon, DITC. People were not saying that about that era in hip hop. People were not saying, oh, this is just boring, this shit is
not
creative.
They weren't saying it's boring, but they were saying it's the same. They were saying it's the same kind, it's the same.
You kind of got to be specific in when you want, because I think there's some halves where, like, I think you're not disagreeing with each other, but you're just talking about two different things. You know what I'm saying? Because he's listening to artists that I don't think necessarily is basically what you're talking about. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think
I'm just tying where people tie it with the same brush, like what you're doing. Like you're tying hip hop now with the same, like everything sounds the same. Blah 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 blah.
Mainstream hip hop in 1989, NWA, Public Enemy, and De La Soul all coexisted. Yeah, in mainstream hip hop in 1989, they were all selling platinum.
you're not even alive, bro.
There was a varying degree of different types of hip hop, and all of them were equally as celebrated as being part of the same genre. Same thing, like in 93, Tribe was out in the same year as Wu-Tang, and they were both celebrated equally, played on the same radio stations, celebrated equally. Fans who were into hip hop like Tribe, they like Wu-Tang. You know, they like Black Moon at the same time. So what I'm saying is right now, the dominant sound is really, really one-dimensional. It's one-dimensional and it's...
I don't think that's an unfair point to make though. I don't think it is. It seems like you two are disagreeing with what Snips is saying, but I agree to a certain extent. Everything I hear on the radio sounds slightly similar to the track that has just been played.
But he's not just saying it's one-dimensional. He's saying
that it's stagnant. I don't think it's stagnant.
Yeah.
I don't think it's stagnant.
But when you're talking about radio, when you're talking about commercial radio, everything sounds the fucking same on commercial radio anyway.
Yeah.
So if that's what you're talking about, then that's the kind of.
But now,
if it fits his position, if it's the model, if it's the model.
Chance the Rapper, Childish Gambino.
But they're not within that niche of artists that we're talking about. Like, if you speak to your average fan that likes rap music in the UK, they're not listening to Childish Gambino and Chance the Rapper. They're listening to Future and Young Thug and Migos and.
But you're just talking about turn-up music.
No, I'm talking about what is the dominant sound and what is the shit
What is the dominant sound? So are you talking about US or UK here? Like
either one, because they all sound the same. Like one they just copy each other. It all sounds the same.
If you listen to UK radio, like I spent a day. We was driving and I listened to commercial radio, and most of it is R&B, reggae influence. If you listen to the top 10 pop tunes, they're influenced by reggae, even like to that Ed Sheeran song. The new Tiny Temple one has got an old school sound that kind of sounds like old school R&B. So it's R&B and reggae sounds in the charts, but yet that music itself is not big in the UK, which kind of, does that make sense?
I see what you're saying.
So that seems to be the biggest influence. And then the music that you're talking about, like, is there such thing as urban radio? You don't hear the music that you're talking about that's big over here. It's not on commercial radio.
This is the thing. I don't like when we have these conversations when we're discussing hip hop and what's pivotal and where we start bringing in mainstream radio and commercial, because that's never been a viable,
let's take it to what is now. It's Spotify, it's streaming.
It's YouTube.
What's the top?
It's visually, it's stuff what you can see.
It's blogs. It's Grime Daily, SBTV, Link Up TV. These are the platforms. The platforms aren't radio. It's those platforms. And if you
still, they're still that music is still not at the top.
What?
Not at the top of what though?
Of UK streaming.
In what demographic though?
In the UK? So I'm talking about...
I'm talking about hip-hop. I'm not talking about what the UK
you mean
is
like a hip-hop category?
No, I'm talking about what hip-hop fans... We're talking about hip-hop music, so I'm talking about what hip-hop fans embrace in this country.
Okay.
So I'm talking about what they're playing in hip-hop clubs. I'm talking about what is dominant on the blogs that cover hip-hop music. I'm talking about the specialist hip-hop shows, the Semtexes, the Charlie Sloths, the Shorty Blitz and MK, the people that like. I'm talking about Shorty Blitz and MK are a little bit different with what they play. They definitely have a wider, but there is a dominant sound, and it sounds the same. And I think, but the thing is, the point, because we've gone off on a tangent anyway. The point I was trying to make, what I was saying about whether or not people need to do their research, is because when stuff only sounds the same, and you've got kids that only listen to current stuff, how do you expect to be creative and make anything new when you only listen to one sound that is the dominant sound of the day? You know, how do you progress from there?
If you're musically inclined, like surely you're into music. So if you're
most of these artists aren't into music because it's been made very easy to think that you don't need to actually be very good at it.
That's a point. No, there is a fair point in that. There is a fair point in that where a lot of the artists these days don't care about music.
Ironically that this conversation started with Biggie, because to be fair, Biggie was the one who made it cool to be effortless, but the difference is Biggie was talented enough to be effortless and be that good. These guys trying to do it, they're not that talented. So you need to work hard to be good, you know.
Who do you blame? What do you blame for that then? The whole.
So for them motherfucking kids,
I blame a lot of my generation. To be honest. I blame my generation because you know why? My generation is so obsessed because there's such an obsession with youth. My generation is so obsessed with being accepted by the youth. They're actually rewriting history in order for it to sit in with what the youth.
Do you think that older people just want to be cool? That's why they're not saying.
Which is why my generation will tell you that they grew up on grime music. When I know for a fact, I know the people who were saying it, I knew when grime was out and they were laughing at it. They were laughing at it like it was a joke.
When grime first came out, all the hip hop heads were fucking hating on grime. All the fucking hip hop heads were hating on grime.
We laughed at it. And I'm the same heads. And the thing is, I laughed at it. And I'll be honest with you, I've since learned to appreciate certain grime music. Like when Kano and them, like we, you know, a lot of us were like, fuck, there's some real spitters in this. But for the most part, we laughed at it. It was entertainment to us. So now when I'm seeing people that's my age, that I know for a fact at that time they were listening to Black Twang and Rodney P and Scheme, man. Now they're rewriting it. It's like, oh yeah, that UK rap, that was niche, that was Nicki student rap. I was listening to grime. You fucking liar.
You got to be aware as well, and you got to be self-aware in a sense where it's like your background is from an era where it was all about your technical ability when it comes to rap. So therefore, you're always gonna lean towards that side or that kind of a rapper. Do you know what I'm saying to you?
When did it become acceptable?
Oh, he's right.
Yeah.
We got to think about this. You got to think about the Meek Mill and the Drake this. You got to think about the fan base. No.
Why are we accepting that?
You just have to. What I'm trying to say is that there's different forms of approaching the mic. Is basically what I'm saying to you. Every form just can't be the approach of I'm gonna come from this super techers ability where I'm gonna fucking flip about 10 syllables.
That's not the shit that I listen to fucking. Well, like
people don't care. They don't care. They don't care about local entities and.
Like it's okay to not have any fucking.
I don't think anyone's saying it's okay. I just think
this whole idea of you just gotta accept that it's different. Like fucking,
it's not that. Like this is exactly what it is. Right? I'm gonna tell you straight out because I'm from the generation that is giving you lot grief. Talk to me. Right. Unless you had an older sibling that was willing to bring you in from an early age and listen to the music that you're describing now, now you won't care. That's as simple as it is. It was up to the generation that you're coming. Obviously I'm not the same. I'm saying
I know.
But what I'm saying is that it was up to the generation before to bring the new heads through so that they could understand, look, if you, it's like the Bob Marley lyric, if you don't know your history, you don't know where you're coming from. So it was up to the older heads to bring us lot through and say, look, this is why this artist sounds like this because he's emulating this guy. Unless somebody does that from an early age, because if you do it to somebody now at 20 years old, they're gonna be like, oh, shut up, fuck off. I'm talking about Abracadabra, I'm talking about Myth, Mostak, all these people. They don't care about no Biggie, no Tupac, no Nas, none of these people. That's just what it is. Obviously, it's difficult being around people like that at my age because you know I want to have a conversation like this. But that's just what it is. That's just the fact of the situation.
But didn't we say there was no lineage between UK rap and current grime? And isn't that just the? That's why. Yeah,
but this is the other thing, and this is why it's my generation to blame for this as well. Because if you speak to a grime fan, if you speak to a grime artist, and say where does the lineage come from for grime music, they'll tell you Wiley, right? Wiley started this shit, and you know then Dizzy or whatever, like they'll show you that image. And if you speak to a UK rapper, they will also tell you Wiley started this scene and then Dizzy and then. So my thing is that there used to be grime music here and rap music here, and let's be honest, grime music 02, 03, rap music in the UK 1985 and upwards, but somehow this grew, this started, and now this came here, this disappeared, and now whether you're rap or grime, this is your go-to point of when it all started. To honestly believe that this scene started in 2002, 2003 is absolutely ridiculous.
It's the level of respect though, in terms of like, you have to understand hip hop. We know hip hop. The world knows hip hop as this musical or this genre or this entertainment or this culture that is black oriented, right? And it came from basically ex-slaves. It came from living in poverty. This is what you created. So okay, when it transcends the world and it goes around the world, ends up in the UK. You see, in the UK, because we don't have there's not that culture. The black culture ain't as thick over here as it is over there in America. So when we had UK hip hop, it wasn't respected by the black youth. If you get what I'm saying to you. So now the correction.
What he's kind of saying is Samuel L. Jackson saying.
What you're saying is coming from somebody. Let me stop quick. Because what you're saying, because what you've already said is wrong because you're actually speaking about something from a very specific niche point in UK hip hop. You're talking about the Kung Fu era where Jest and Task Force and these guys were really big. You're not talking about
what I'm say though.
But you've already said something that's incorrect.
So now, if you want to talk about people who listen to hip hop now, and then we talk about back in the days, and you're saying that for them it starts with where grime started because they don't want to have to attribute anything prior to that because it's not gonna necessarily consist of black folks. I know you're gonna go back to the London Posses. I know you're gonna go. I know that's the area you're gonna go.
Because if you honestly think that London Posse didn't have like a black fan base in London,
okay,
I don't know.
What I'm saying to you, but then there was an error. And it wasn't
London's
black.
different because Brum is different.
I'm saying
from Bristol.
There was an error.
Different.
There was an error that wasn't black though, bro.
Yeah.
There was
it was a very small point in UK hip hop. You're talking about the Kung Fu.
How many? We're talking over a decade though, bro. We're not talking 2 years though. We're talking like a decade though, bro.
You're not talking a decade, bro. You ever go to a hip hop jam in 1996, bro? Are you crazy?
You're asking me.
That's what I'm saying. But like, it was very, very different, bro. It wasn't like.
Actually, no, you wouldn't call me 96. I would have been 11 years old, so probably not me.
But that's what I'm saying. Like that whole. Do you know what happened, bro? Yeah. Hip hop was always a black music scene in London. Whether you're talking about the artists or you're talking about the patrons and the people that were going. When Garage came out, a lot of the black kids started going to garage raves, and then it opened up a safety net for a lot of the white kids who probably felt too shook to go to some of these dances they wouldn't have gone to before. So when that explosion happened in like 98, 99, that's when you had this new scene of a very white middle class UK hip hop scene. And that went from around 98, 99 to about 2002, 2003 when the whole grime thing took off. So I get why at that point, a lot of the grime kids didn't want to associate because it was very much a white middle class scene. But prior to that, it was not a white middle class scene, bro. If you're talking like I'm talking about the days of MCD and early Twang and early Fallacy and London Posse and Brotherhood and all these guys, it was not like a white middle class scene at that point.
I would say 80% of those audiences who went to those shows were white.
The audience was
talking about in the early to mid 90s.
Yeah.
But the people that are making it though, bro, might have been black. But the audience was fucking white, bro. I'm telling you.
You're talking about in the early 90s, bro.
I'm not going to talk about the era that I was in the club them time, so you got to pull me out. I wasn't in the club them time.
But I'm saying, bro, go back and watch the videos. Go back and watch the documentary that Westwood did when they were showing Westwood jams with Rodney P performing and look who's in the crowd, bro. Count how many white people you saw in that crowd.
You're talking about Westwood jams, but their individual shows and that. I'm sure it was different.
I'm not sure, but then you can say the same, but go to a grime show today. Go to a grime show right now and tell me what the demographic is. It's a bunch of white girls from Essex with gold grills and fucking Nike TN hats practicing their slang in front of the mirror, bro.
When we did have concerts, because we used to get, your second-hand left off concerts, smaller venue, they used to support, and it was a majority black audience, but they were.
This is what I find when I go outside of London, is whether I go to Bristol's the same thing if you go to Liverpool, Manchester, whatever. For a lot of actually Manchester's a bit different, but for a lot of the time, especially like back before, it like those scenes of reggae and hip hop and soul, whatever. They're not mainstream in these other cities like they are in London, where you've got like a big white demographic. They're a lot more like grassroots niche scenes. That's my understanding anyway. Like I've got a lot of friends in Birmingham who've always said that to me. For me, I think Birmingham is probably like the #1 hip hop city. Birmingham and Notts. And Bristol actually.
Because you got like accent discrimination now as well with the Birmingham thing.
Yeah.
Like you got a lot of that where you've always had it, but I mean, like people from London don't want to listen to a rap song because it's just got a Birmingham accent.
Is that really a thing?
Yes, it was definitely. I'll tell you, the only guy they're fucking with now is Mist.
I've never heard
That's the only guy they're fucking with from Birmingham.
Do you hear that as well?
Yeah, all the time.
The accent thing's a problem.
Yeah, all the time. I don't think it is, but
like I know I've lived in London for like 12 years, and my accent comes out now and again, but we get so.
your accent comes out loud again. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about in rap music.
I'm not just being a brother in general.
I'm talking about in music.
Yeah, that's
In
what
music as well? Oh, okay. 100%. It's not all about UKC. Alright, that's it.
In grime is slightly different.
But Londoners, man, I said this to you last time. Londoners are so in the bubble of if it doesn't happen in London. Like, listen, you lot might not know this being from London. Birmingham, you don't know a little bit more about Bristol, and likewise.
Yeah.
When it comes to hip hop, bruv, Bristol is so fucking integral in this country's hip hop scene.
Who did you have from Bristol?
Wild Bunch.
Okay.
Listen.
Let's cook. Start wrapping up.
Hold on.
We're on inside.
Where do you think? Where do you think Massive Attack and Portishead and all of that movement? It came from the Wild Bunch. That was the Wild Bunch initially. They had records out in until 1987, 88. Like Bristol's hip hop scene was from the graffiti side of things, the breakers. Come on, man.
We're into 88.
Yeah, but bruv, that's because I do my research. Like I was 9 years old in 88. It's not like I was a fucking adult. But if I'm into something, I do my research and I know where my roots lie as far as this music shit is concerned. Like I don't just believe that anything that happened before I was like a teenager going to
No, but you got
didn't exist.
Like, what needs to happen then, in order for it be easier for somebody of my generation to be able to appreciate a Biggie tune?
Already, bro. No, but I've got the internet.
It's like, not only from somebody who's actually interested in hip hop. A lot of people are not.
If you're not interested in it, fuck off. Like, don't be in it. Stop trying to make rap records if you're not interested in it.
Because we've got DJs in the clubs like him. When you go on Spotify now, they're catering to your taste and they're even going to give you a suggestion which may gradually lead you on to do your research. The same thing happens on YouTube now. Everything's there now for you. So we're relying on you, the DJ, Spotify, YouTube, and you to do your research, mate.